Hello everybody, hope you all are doing good out there. In this video, we are going to be talking about why I think that everybody who likes traditional knives should have a synthetic Sodbuster Jr. in their collection. On top of that, we are also going to discuss a few things we're planning to do on the channel here in the future. And the first thing I want to discuss is some ideas I have for the channel. I'm planning on taking the time to make a YouTube short and an overview of every knife I have in my collection. And there's two reasons I want to do this. The first reason is so that I'll have it cataloged. I'll put a number on each knife and put that YouTube short on YouTube. And so I can look it up if I need to. If I trade the knife in the future or whatever it is, I can go back and find it. The other reason why I'm wanting to do this is for anybody who's researching a certain knife. Say they're wanting to do some research on a sky blue mini trapper. Well, if that's the case, they can find the short and they can see what the knife looks like. And so that way, it'll just be, I'll try to keep them all around 60 seconds. And that way, people can easily just look at it and reference what the knife looked like. Or maybe if they've picked up a knife at a pawn shop or something and it doesn't have a box with it, and they don't know the exact color of the bone or something, they can see it on one of these videos and figure out what it is. And so that's one thing I'm planning to do here in the future, is to do some more YouTube shorts and to catalog the different knives in my collection. Let me know down in the comments how y'all feel about that, if you think it's worth doing or not. But now the main topic that I was wanting to discuss in this video is why I think that everybody who likes traditional knives needs to have a Sodbuster Jr. in their collection, specifically one of the Sodbuster Juniors in Delrin. Now, I do need to say right off the bat that even if you're not somebody who likes traditional knives, the Sodbuster is one of the best patterns to get people into traditional knives. So let me pull a few of them out of the collection here, and we'll take a look at them, and I'll discuss why I think it's a great knife that everybody needs in the collection. I think we'll grab this one, and this one. Also, I'll grab one of the full-size Sodbusters to compare. Now, there are different forms of Sodbuster Juniors. The most common and the most traditional are these that you see in front of you here on the camera. They have a Delrin or a synthetic material of some sort. They have a cutlery rivet for the pivot. And the outside itself is smooth. It is not jigged or textured in any way. It's just smooth. For the most part, the handles are pretty wide. They're a little fatter, both in the pocket and when you hold them in your hand. And for the most part, they're going to be a little cheaper. There are other forms of Sodbusters these days, like this one right here. This is a red worn bone. This is a pocket worn knife with a corncob jig on it. And you can see it does not have the cutlery rivet on the pivot like this black one does on the right. Also, you're going to notice that it is a whole lot thinner than this one on the right. And that is going to be a common trait of the bone Sodbusters. There are some thick bone Sodbusters, but most of them are going to be thinner. And of course, you have the difference in the material on the handle. This is a great knife, but I don't think it's the best Sodbuster. And there's a few reasons why I say that. The first is the price. These generally cost at least $20 more, at least 20 more than the synthetic ones. Second off, they are not as sturdy, I do not believe. The way that this pin is in here and peened, it works good as a knife, but if you're using it for hard use over time, from my experience, that can loosen up. Now, if you know how to retighten it, it's no problem, and I've retightened 2 of these before. But it's not a real big deal, but it is something to keep in mind, that it is probably not as sturdy as these are. And besides those 2 things, the Sodbuster shines as a work knife. And it's a beautiful knife when it's got this bone on it. But it kind of, I think, loses sight of what the Sodbuster does best, and that is that it's a brilliant work knife. Now, don't get me wrong, I like the bone Sodbusters. I've got a few of them, and I'll buy more of them if I find them for a good price and ones that catch my eye. But in this video, I want to talk about why you absolutely need one of these yellow Delrin Sodbusters or one of these black Delrin Sodbusters. Out of all the different Sodbusters out there, the most traditional and the most classic are going to be these two. Your yellow synthetic handle, which we often refer to as Delrin, which was a name that Case used when they used to get it from the company DuPont, I believe. And the material, according to Case's representatives, is basically the same, but they're not getting it from DuPont anymore, so they can't call it Delrin, so they call it synthetic. Now, most of these yellow Delrin Sodbusters are going to have a carbon steel blade. If they were older than around 2022, they're going to have what's known as a CV blade, which was a style of carbon steel. And if they are after that, most of them are going to say CS, which is another form of carbon steel. Both are identical. You can see this one has a lot of patina on it, and this one was made in 2024. But that is one classic form of the Sodbuster Jr. The other classic form is going to be the black-handled Delrin version. Now this one is different from the yellow one in that it is stainless steel instead of carbon steel, so it is not going to patina and get that dark coloration like this one has. The other thing that makes it unique, I'm sure you've already noticed, is the etching on the blade. You can see it says Stainless Sodbuster Jr. and you see a plow on there. This one is also from 24. Another unique characteristic between these is going to be the way the blade's finished. But first off, let us notice that the handles are basically identical. When they sand these at the Case factory, since they're done manually, they will vary sometimes, Sodbuster to Sodbuster. One will be a little wider in one spot, one will be a little smoother in one spot. It just varies, and I like that. It adds character. So the handles are really going to be the same on these two. But that's not true for the blades. They are a little bit different. The first thing to notice is that this one is what Case calls an as-ground blade. We might say it's more of a satin finish. When you get one of these CS Sodbusters, one of these yellow CS Sodbusters new, its blade is going to be a high mirror polish, something like this. It may not be quite this much, because Case is using some stone-washed finishes now, but for the most part, carbon steel is going to come pretty shiny like this, like Case's stainless steel does. And as you use it, it will darken up and get this nice coloration on it. Now, these black Sodbuster Juniors are going to have what's called an as-ground blade, where the Case has not polished it up to a mirror polish, and you'll be able to see some machining marks in the blade. It's very similar to what a lot of the old-timers and Schrades were, but you can see that right in the blade there. Now, that is not a positive or a negative, it's a matter of preference. But that is one thing to note, is that the finish is different. The other thing that's different about this blade is going to be the width. See if I can illustrate this properly on the camera. The black Sodbuster has wider blade stock than the yellow Sodbuster. Can you see that right there? It's wider going all the way down to the tip. And I'm assuming that's because they haven't finished the blade out and buffed it as much. They've left it a little more coarse. It's a little rougher style. I like both. Both are absolutely excellent. And these two are the traditional Sodbusters. Now, for a few reasons why I think that if you're wanting to get into traditional knives, why you should get one of these, are the reasons as follows. First off is price. You can get them for $35 or under brand new. You can get them for used even cheaper than that. That means that you can afford one. They're affordable. If you can't afford one, you can save up for a month or two and then be able to afford one. They are not out of reach price-wise. The other reason why I recommend these Delrin ones is because they are so sturdy. The only problem I've ever seen in all the knives I've dealt with is going to be that sometimes there can be a little hairline crack that will go from this middle pin over to the brass liner. And you can see it. It doesn't harm the knife. It doesn't separate. It doesn't cause the handle to fall apart or break. But you can see the crack if you look for it. That is the only thing I've ever seen happen to one of these Delrin handles that really damages it. So they are sturdy. They're tough. And you can drop them. You can even run over them. They are very, very strong. So that is why I would recommend this style of Delrin, because of the way it holds up, and it's just a great, reliable, usable work knife that you don't have to worry about. These handles will not soak up oil like bone will. They will not chip as easy as bone will. There's all kinds of stuff that can go wrong with bone that won't go wrong with these handles. And so it's a great work knife. You can just wash it out and clean it out. It's great handle material. The other thing why I would recommend this is the overall width and the design of the handle. These handles are wide for a reason, and that is because this is meant to be a work knife. And when you're holding that knife, it fills your hand, and it's easy to hold, and it's comfortable. We can say that for any of these Sodbusters here with the thicker, wider handle. And if you're truly using it as a work knife, as Sodbuster Jr. implies, you might be applying a lot of pressure. It's not going to cut into your hand, and it has no hot spots on it. It's very, very comfortable to hold. Another unique characteristic I like about these is the patina that they develop with time. As you use these knives, they are going to develop a patina. And I'm not just talking about the coloration on the carbon steel blade. I'm talking about the marks on the handle. As that handle touches your keys, as you drop it, as all this stuff happens, it's going to develop a color to it. It's going to develop character. And especially these black ones, after they get some character on them, it's really, really neat. Just to pull it out, to look at it, and to figure what its story might have been. All the dents and crevices and lines that get pressed in them over time. And so that is a neat characteristic. As you carry the knife and as you use it, it's going to take on character. And you'll be able to tell it's your knife instead of any other knife. Another thing that I really like about these Delrin Sodbuster Juniors is just, as we said before, the classic nature of them. When you pull it out of your pocket, you look at it. Case has been making these patterns since the 60s and 70s, depending on the large Sodbuster compared to the small junior Sodbuster. They're classic. And when you pull these out of your pocket, if you're in a place that isn't really knife friendly, these are probably the least offensive looking of any pocket knife you're going to pull out. They do not look threatening at all. These are tools that are made to use, that are made for a particular task. And when somebody looks at it, they say that's made to open a package. Nobody looks at this and thinks, hey, he's brought that in here to hurt somebody. That just doesn't happen. So if you're in an area that isn't as conducive to knives, that's one thing to keep in mind. Also, we need to note, for those who don't know, there are two sizes of Sodbusters from Case. There is the full size and there is the junior. The knife on the top is the full size. The knife on the bottom is the junior. The junior is known as the 37 pattern. The full-size knife on the top is known as the 38 pattern. And you can get it in both of these configurations. Comment down below in the comments how y'all feel about these Sodbusters. The junior compared to the full size, the black handle versus the yellow handle, the carbon steel versus the stainless steel, the bone versus the synthetic. That's what I mainly wanted to touch on in this video, was the bone versus the synthetic. If we talked about just the Sodbuster Jr. as a whole and included the bone, a lot of the things would hold true. The great size to carry in your pocket, the useful blade shape, the hollow grind on the blade itself is excellent. Whenever you're cutting or slicing, the way that the blade is shaped with the hollow grind makes it very easy to use in that way and makes it a great slicer. Let me see if I can illustrate this. I don't know if I can get that light right. You have to take my word for it that this does have a hollow grind on there. But this one, while we're at it, I'll mention, is nearly a hybrid between these two. It's got the yellow handle of the carbon steel. It's got the stainless blade with the etch of this black Sodbuster Jr. The difference being that this is a high mirror polish. This is an as-ground finish. So that is a difference that we need to note. But from what I can tell, this one right here is pretty rare. This was made in 2005. And I believe this is a pretty rare knife. If y'all have any information about it, comment down below. The last time I mentioned it, we got a comment from a subscriber who was very, very helpful, and I want to thank him in this video for the information he gave me. He said that he found an auction on Shepherd Hill that had one of these at one point. But that was the only one that could easily be found on the internet. So if y'all have any information as to when Case put a stainless, high mirror polished blade with an etch on it in a yellow handle Sodbuster, let me know. Now you can get the regular yellow Sodbuster without the etch with a stainless steel blade that has a mirror polish on it or a stone-washed finish on it. I've given one of them to my grandpa. So you can find them. But the most common form is the carbon steel. And so if you're thinking about getting one of these Sodbusters, I would recommend either this one to start you off or this one right here to start you off. Either get the yellow Junior with the carbon steel blade or the black Junior with the stainless blade. And start from there and go from there. You can't go wrong with either. I like them both about equally. They're both great knives. It's just a matter of preference. Thank you all so much for watching, and all of you all who like these videos, who subscribe, and especially the comments. The comments is what I really love talking to y'all. Y'all have a good day. Keep your knives sharp.